We will be starting as soon as other people get in, all right? During the second one thing. I'm just checking something really quickly here. I'm gonna wait for a few minutes to see if anyone else shows up today this week.
That looks like just me and you so far.
Okay. Um, I apologize. I forgot to post the first week's video in the announcements. It is there now, so if you needed to go back, this week will be there probably tomorrow morning. So I just want to double check something here really quick. I don't believe maybe you have. I know you've done the first two labs. I do know that, and awesome. Thank you. Um, but I
Yeah,
wanted to check something else.
starting on
Big,
week 2.
yeah. So you did do inventory management.
Yes.
And this is where I'm getting a little bit of concern with a couple of you. You're one of them. And so I will go over that. I will share my screen again to show you exactly what I need you to do. Um, with your labs, there is a video that is required for you to upload. You have to take one and then upload it, right? And everybody doesn't know where to upload this. They think they're going to upload it to my YouTube channel. That is not the case. So let me come back here. I'm going to view as a student so you can see. And this is what I was showing earlier. When you scroll down to the week, because this is what you're going to see, you see the lab skills. That is going to be your science interactive. And then this one, you're going to click on for video upload. You're going to click that. And it's going to provide you with upload the video or text if you have a link that you can provide. So you would just click that. The link. It's going to have this box. You're going to, whatever you have here. I don't even know what. Okay, say that. You're going to just post. I was doing something else before. I didn't realize what time it was. Or if you're going to upload a link, you're going to do this and you're going to drag a file here. Maybe it's a video, that you can do it that way, or studio, which I've never done studio, so I'm
I
not
know.
sure
I've been
how.
trying. I was looking at it the other day, trying to figure it out.
Okay, yeah. So this is going to tell you to add video. You can add videos to your library. You can add it that way as well. So that is where you're going to upload the video link. All labs from this point on, if it has that in your modules, which you really should check to see if it has the two different, things, it's going to require a video. So what I need to do before I can grade inventory management, because it's still sitting there waiting for me, I need that video.
Okay, I probably did that Friday. I'm off work.
And I know you did it already, and that's my fault. I should have explained this a little bit clearer last week. So what you're just going to do is you're going to grab that paperwork that you did, right?
Mhm.
And how you had your pills. Um, and you're just going to walk through that what you did on that sheet of paper for me.
Okay.
Okay. Um, it's very important. I have a student that's actually working ahead, and
Um,
I don't have a problem with that. Okay.
I don't have time to work ahead. I'm doing good to keep up.
Yeah, you're fine. No, no, no. There, there
I
are weeks
try
that
to, but
right. There are weeks you're going to be able to work ahead, right? This
yeah.
is a proctored in class assignment that you'll have to do. But see here, it has a video that's required for the measurement systems. Here, it's going to be drug dispensing. That's all on the computer. Medication reconciliation, again, it's all on the computer.
Good.
And we'll go through all that. We're going to go through this lab today as well. So repackaging will have a video you'll need to upload. So when you get to the experimentation, my suggestion is that you stop, you get however you're going to do your video, and you do it then so you don't have to go back and redo, right?
Okay.
Um, and then that we have lab makeups if you have to make up labs. Um, So what I was explaining, Jessica, is that you'll notice on certain weeks, the first week we didn't have that, but this week we have inventory management. You'll have to take a video of you doing the experiment, and I'm going to go through that in a little bit here, the paperwork with the medications, and I probably should take myself off of blur because you guys are seeing that. It's blurry. Uh,
Can't see it
unblue.
anyway.
So yeah, it's a little bit. I can pull up the document on the computer too, so that won't be a problem. But you have a package of placebos that will be in a Ziploc baggie, and it's just a bunch of things in there. It's a liquid and then a bunch of tablets and something else. What is this? Oh, yeah, that's tablets too. Okay, so. But I'll be going through this again because I want to make sure that everybody, Anna, if you notice here, there is a video that you'll need to do. You'll click here and you're going to take a video while you do the experimentation portion. And there are different ways you can submit. You can give me a text of a link and you can just, type, copy and paste here. You can upload the video And like I was stating before, I'm not really sure what studio is about. I have never seen this in here, but this is also another way you can add your videos to your library. You will not be adding it to my YouTube channel. That is for you to use um, to see the videos that I have recorded. I will upload it there, but I will also upload it into an announcement. And like I was stating, because it takes a while for these videos to actually convert over for me, it will probably be tomorrow morning that it'll get uploaded. And you'll see that on the announcement page when you come here. You're going to see that. Where did I write it? Because I got reminded about that. Here's week's one's lecture live class. Okay. But that's very important that we are making sure that that is done. I don't have a problem if you want to work ahead and get things, situated, because I do know time management is a big thing with people, and that's fine, but I want to make sure that we are not missing anything in here. All this should be done for each week. So it's week 2 discussion. Great job if you started. Um, then there's that in-class assignment that we have today. You will see that this is going to look like, well, it's not going to show me here. Uh, leave student view for a second. Excuse me. You're going to see it's the content and the video, and then there will be a quiz that you'll need to take. Um, I do see there was at least one student that had that already done. That's great. But you also nope, that's not where I wanted to go. Get out of there. Thank you. Um, there's a practice test that's going to help you get a higher score on your chapter test. Chapter 3 has a lot of information about drugs, different types of drugs. So you're going to want, this is unlimited attempts, but when you get to the test itself, I think there is a limit on your tests. Oh no, it's an unlimited test. All right. So I always suggest, if it's unlimited, which you'll be able to see, to take it so you can get the highest score. The highest score will be recorded. Okay. Does that all make sense to the ones that have joined? Perfect. Okay. Um, all right. So we only have 3 students here today. That's fine. It happens. Um, what I'm going to now go here is go to the lessons. And I accidentally skipped over this one. When you skip it, it's not skip. When you click into lab kit inventory, what they wanted you to do was go through this. It's gonna be very short. It's a lot of the stuff like I was telling you in the first week. You're accessing your inventory list. I provided you with a link as well for that. But there is a QR code, and it's going to just provide you some other information. Um, and then it's going to go right here to the materials, and that's what you need. And then you're going to just follow these directions if you want. But what's really important here is asking you for the SKU. It'll look like something like SP-10001-MK-01, and then production date. If there is no production date, use lot number. It should have a lot number on there. And you know what? I didn't even check to see what mine has. Let's see here. Yeah, you should have a lot number on there. I don't know if there is a production date. So just try to fill that out as best as you can. This is just so that it's on record, and then links for you to be able to request if there's anything missing. And then did you have trouble identifying any items? If so, message me. Let me know, and I can provide you with pictures of what they should be. And then you're just going to come over here and you're going to start the evaluation. This is worth, it's like getting started. It's going to be completed or not completed. Right now, I don't have anybody marked as late for that because that was my fault, not yours. So, but the lab that we are actually working on this week is inventory management. And like I said, remember when you're doing this in the Science Interactive, that is considered your book work. When you get to the experimentation, which is exercise 1, that is when you're going to want to stop, however you're going to video yourself doing the lab itself, so that you have that link and you can provide it once you finish up the lab, okay? And I will show again, there is that one way to, you're just going to come down here. It's going to look a little bit different for you because this is actually my view. But it's this second one. You see, it's 0 points, but the thing is that it needs to be submitted. It's a complete or not completed, and it will affect that if this gets graded. So you want to have your lab graded, you're going to have that link. So here, does
Sorry.
that make sense?
The video. So I can basically do the video like how you do it on your cell phone. And,
Yeah.
okay, and email it to myself and then
Yep.
like that. Okay.
Oh yes, Miss Bryant, you got it.
Okay.
It's it's not difficult, honestly. I'm actually sort of happy that we're not yet into the ones where you're washing your hands. Because yeah, when you're washing your hands and everything, I'm hearing the water run. So it's like I gotta go use the bathroom now. But yeah, okay. So here we're just gonna discuss the pharmacy inventory management and describe the process of reconciling a shipment. It's a really simple lab. Most people do that when they order something. They look at the invoice and they say, okay, did I receive everything that I ordered? But so you're going to test your knowledge here. It's going to ask you to move these around to what this, and using your best judgment, what these mean. Because it's first test your knowledge is where are you at before the lesson? And then you're going to classify these statements about reconciling a pharmacy shipment as true or false. Again, this is just gauging where you're at before the lesson begins. Okay, and then we have the lesson itself. Are you actually seeing this? I hope you are. Yes, you are. Good. Okay. So, pharmacy technicians are responsible for managing inventory in the pharmacy. This will include all the sale items stocked in the pharmacy, including medications, non-durable medical equipment, which are needles and syringes. They might be test strips, lancelets, and so forth, and durable medical equipment, which could be wheelchairs, crutches, etc. These supplies are typically purchased through a wholesaler. So there is your first answer. What is a wholesaler? Okay. They maintain large stocks of supplies and can fulfill large orders quickly and typically at lower prices. In some instances, these supplies may be purchased from prime vendors. This is the next one, or directly from the manufacturer. Prime vendors provide the supplies to federal and military customers. They do not supply to the general public, and typically it's because it's at um, a lower cost to these people. They get a little bit of a break, but they're not as fast. That's another issue, and they do require a contract with the pharmacy. Okay. But they do provide substantial savings benefits depending on the pharmacy's needs. So the pharmacy also gets a price reduction when they are servicing a federal or a military customer. Um, there are very strict regulations when it comes to these type of customers. Pharmacies typically only order directly from the manufacturer if they require a drug that is not stocked by a prime vendor or a wholesaler. And every pharmacy will have its own set of procedures for managing inventory, but there are some commonalities in the practices of the inventory management that you'll see at like Walgreens or CVS or I was going to say Rite Aid, but they pretty much closed all their stores now, which is really sad. Uh, though all of the pharmacy employees will play a role in managing the inventory, some pharmacies like to have a designated inventory control technician. This is another job that you'll find within the pharmacy that you can work toward. It's really an area that they will take the training is going to be specific to that role. You're going to be primarily responsible for monitoring what's in the pharmacy, as well as maybe ordering and receiving supplies from a wholesaler. If a needed drug is back ordered through the usual supplier, the specialist will then be responsible on contacting another supplier or inquiring with a nearby pharmacy with a network, typically. Um, a CVS will call another CVS and so forth. If need be, sometimes they might call outside of that network to borrow the drug until the shipment is fulfilled. And then it's like, we're going to provide you back with what you provided us. Depending on the size of the facility, a pharmacy may also have a narcotic technician. They're going to be responsible for overseeing the orders of narcotics. There is we'll go through it, but there is a very specific way a narcotic technician or anyone, if there is not specified as one, but maybe an inventory control technician, or if by chance it's like by week or by day that they decide, oh, so-and-so is going to be in charge of the inventory for that period of time, they will have specific directions and they will be trained in it. So there are many different specialized pharmacy technician roles, including but not limited to the inventory control technician and narcotic technician. I did mention one in the discussion forum. It is medication reconciliation, which is a very interesting job. I suggest that you start looking at these different little areas. Um, I when I went through this education and the training that I spent on the job, I would research these to see where I wanted to go. And it is quite interesting on everything that is entailed with it. So the skills that are required to become a pharmacy technician specialist can be obtained through the job training, certification programs, or even advanced degrees. So uh, some of you are in the pharmacy technician program and some of you are in the associate's program. So the associate program has a little bit more education requirements, but there's also certification programs. If you go to there's two different ones, PTCB and NHA. They will have different things as well. And that is where you would get your national certification as well. And I will tell you that it's very important that not necessarily required depending on what state you're in. Some states require it, some states don't. But if you are nationally certified, you can work anywhere. You can relocate if you needed to. I think there was somebody that said had a husband that was in the military. You would be able to do that as well as work remotely. I've done a lot of my work remotely. I work from home. And having that national certification not only helps me with that as a pharmacy technician, but obviously as also an instructor. Um, So the first question we have here is pharmacy supplies are typically purchased through a what, which maintains large stocks of supplies and can fulfill large orders quickly and at lower cost. This would be the wholesaler. Okay. Um, the next lesson, explore receiving orders. Pharmacy items are shipped in large plastic bins or totes. These totes will often come in different colors depending on the type of item contained in the tote. If it does not contain DEA-controlled substances, the tote may or may not include a tamper-evident lock. I'm going to tell you that the narcotics will. DEA-controlled substance will always be shipped in a separate tote with one or more tamper-evident locks. and these locks should be checked as soon as the order is received. And if it's broken or missing, it needs to be brought to the attention of the delivery person. Now, this is a very important thing. That delivery person is not free to go until you have inspected that um, situation, and it needs to be opened and reconciled immediately upon receipt of that delivery person. So that delivery person, if they're delivering you a thing of Vicodin, let's say, because that would be a controlled substance, it would need to be checked for the locks, make sure that they're not broken or tampered with, and then it would need to be opened, and you would need to do all that inventory stuff that you'll have in the experiment um, at the time that they're there. So most non-controlled substances should be opened and reconciled at the first available opportunity. But items that must be kept frozen or refrigerated must be reconciled and properly stored immediately. So if you get items that are like insulin is one of them, there's a few others that would necessarily need to be refrigerated. You would need to handle those immediately. But let's say you have uh, penicillin tablets or something that is stable in that sense, you could wait until there was a free moment to do so. These items will arrive in insulated containers labeled with a proper storage temperature. So they're going to be very noticeable that oh, wait a second, this is temperature controlled. I need to take care of this right now. Okay. And they will only have enough dry ice or other cooling material to maintain that drug's temperature during shipping. That's why they need to be removed from the package and properly stored as soon as possible. So as soon as you take care of any narcotics that possibly would be there, the next thing you want to see is there anything that would be temperature controlled? And then if you still had time, then you could go to the next set of medications. Just always remember narcotics first because they have to be reconciled in front of the delivery person. They have to have stored in a way that believe under lock and key at most pharmacies now. And then you'd go to the next high level one, which should be the um, refrigerated or frozen items. Any questions? Okay. So we are going to explore reconciling a shipment. These items must match exactly with the items that are ordered. So you're going to, in your experiment, you have 2 sheets of paper. You have a purchase order and a shipment order. And both of those are the only 2 pieces of paper that you will need in that manila folder that you got. Mine's in a manila folder. I don't know, yours might be an envelope. And you're going to take those, you're going to have that Ziploc bag of medications, and you will go through each item to make sure you have the correct amount. So there is one item that is a liquid, so you're just going to obviously can't take it out of it and like measure to see exactly if there is. You're going to go by the label. But the pills you should open and count to make sure that you have the quantity that is on there in this practice, not necessarily in the pharmacy itself. You're going to just make note of what's on that label. But for this practice, we would like you to um, do that. All right, so you're going to select each section of the purchase order below to explore the corresponding information. So you're going to go, here is the medication name. We have ibuprofen, aspirin, benzapril, and furosemide. Then you have the item code, the strength of the medication, what is the dosage form, and what should be the quantity. And if you notice, it's been moving as we go. And then we have the cost per unit and the amount that we authorize to be charged on there. So then any errors in the shipment or any items that do not arrive in sellable condition should be brought attention to the wholesaler. The package insert will contain proper storage information for each item. This is particularly important because some medications will lose effectiveness or become dangerous if stored improperly. So that is just very important to always follow that correct protocol. The items received must then be added to the pharmacy inventory by downloading the shipping invoice, into the pharmacy's computer system. Some pharmacies also will have a computerized inventory where you're just adding the numbers in. When shelving inventory, it is important not only to verify that it is the correct medication. A lot of medications look similar, and you'll learn that with the tall man lettering and other ways to notify that. So you want to make sure that it's the correct drug, but also the correct strength and form. So if I have amoxicillin 50 milligrams and I got amoxicillin 100 milligrams, I'm going to want to make sure that they're in the correct area for each strength. It's the same medication. It may be the same form, but it's a different strength. Always place the new items behind the items already on the shelf. So it's going to be making sure that the ones with the earliest expiration date will be sold first. Because once a medication is past its expiration date, it cannot be sold or returned to the wholesaler and constitutes as a financial loss for the pharmacy. They end up writing it off. And it's expected in a way for some medications for that to happen, but it is one that we try to strive not to happen. Okay. This one, the purchase order is a list of items created by the pharmacy that includes the drug type, strength, form, and quantity that was created by the pharmacy. That would be true. All right, so submit. All right, and then it's just going to provide you another test your knowledge that you'll have to do before this will unlock for experimentation. Here, we are going to walk through an experiment, and we are going to unpack and reconcile a shipment. That is our learning objective. We have materials. You're going to need your camera or smartphone so you can take a video. And I will show again in a little bit where you would upload that video link or that video itself. And then this is what Science Interactive has provided you. Again, the medications are in a Ziploc bag. And those sheets of paper will be in a manila folder or an envelope. And I do know that I believe I can actually pull up them also on here to show you what they would look like. Then you would go to the experimentation. I would say always, once you get to this point, if it is a lab that requires items from the Science Interactive Kit, stop, go back to your modules, look to see if you have a video that is required. And this is where you're going to see Lab Skills 1 Inventory Management, and then Video Upload. You're going to click the Video Upload. You're going view as student right really quick here. You're going to have a text box. You can like copy and paste the video link. You can upload the video this way by just choosing the file to upload, which is typically the easiest way for most people to do. And then there's also Studio. Like I said, I'll have to look into Studio to see exactly how to go about working that. But you can also add videos to your library here. I do need that link so that I can grade your lab. I cannot grade your lab unless I have the link to the video. Here's the shipping invoice. You'll see here, this is what you're going to look for. And that is what you would have gotten from the delivery person. And this is what you're going to be checking off to make sure that the quantity in the Ziploc bag stuff matches what's on here. What you're going to do, if it does, you are going to initial on this side. So I would put pH, 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 pH. And then if everything matches, I'm going to sign and date. Now let's say something doesn't match. I had actually somebody at my last place, and I'm just going into the Ziploc bag really quick here. I'm pulling out one item. This is the Benazepril, so I should have 10 in here. And we count by fives in the pharmacy. Can't open it. It's not childproof, but I have, and I'm just going to quickly have it out on my hand. You do have a pill counting tray in your kit as well that you can use. And I'm going to go, that's 5, that's 7, 9, 10. So I would just initial that, and that would be good. And then I would go on to the next one. Okay. And that is what you're going to do with that. You're going to do the same thing with the purchasing invoice, because you're going to then take this is a shipping invoice, right? That they sent, but then you're going to, let me go backwards. You're going to look at the purchasing order that we did just to verify that is what we ordered. We ordered 10 milligrams, we ordered 10. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to initial on the side here of any of the medications that match, sign and date. If something does not match, I want a note saying I do not have this amount. Let's say I don't have the amount of the furosemide, 12.5 milligram tablet. I don't have 40. Let's say I have 38. They missed 2. I'm going to want to write here, received 38. You're still going to sign it and date it, but you will need to make sure that you have stated clearly that I don't have that quantity. And that is pretty much that experiment until you get down to, you're going to notice that here it says initial the line of the purchase order pertaining to that item if it matches. You're going to designate an area of your workspace for the reconciled items and place that item in that area, and you're going to repeat steps 1 through 8. You're just going to go through all that again until that. You're going to take a picture of this signed invoice of the purchasing and the shipping, separate photos, because you're going to need to upload it in this forum. And let me still go student view so you see this. When you get down here, there's going to be a data table. You're going to hit that green data box. There's going to be a photo here. You're going to put the signed invoice, and then this one is going to be the purchase order. So the first one is the shipping. This is the purchase. You're going to upload those photos. Gotta move you guys over a little bit. Then you can collapse that data box, and then you're going to answer these questions. What are some potential errors that could occur when you're reconciling and stocking a shipment at a pharmacy? How would this protocol be different if the shipment had controlled substances? It would have those tamper-evident locks, and you'd be reconciling that purchase order and the shipment invoice in front of the delivery guy or woman before they left. And then they would need to be stored promptly away. And then why is it important to check that received medication against the shipping invoice and purchase order? Once these questions are answered, you're going to click next, and then you're at the evaluation. Not quite sure exactly how many are in the evaluation for the multiple choice, but there is one question that you'll be asked to type out an answer. All items need to be filled out. All photos need to be uploaded. I do need that video upload as well in order to grade your Science Interactive. Does all that make sense? All right. Just making sure. And it's good to see you, Martha. Thank you for coming today. I will be uploading this video to the classroom tomorrow morning because that's just how the video goes. But we are talking about drugs. What type of drugs in chapter 3? The categories of them. And then it asks you for an example and the therapeutic uses. I need to have the two references that you use. If you use more than two, that's wonderful. That's fine. But they do need to be in APA format. I am going to scroll quickly down to where I have it here, or where I've responded. Right here is what the textbook will look like. I have it here as the example for the format of the textbook. A good site to go to, and let me go here, APA citation generator. This is the one that I like using. Because you can choose your website, you can use a book, a journal, and then there are more items here. You can newspaper, film, online, database, advertisement, Bible, blog, brochure. Well, please no cartoon. I just saw that. But there's other things. So make sure that it's like an educational one, right? Let's also make sure that it's on topic. So those are the one thing that I wanted to mention. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I noticed, because I received a notification, I'm sure you have as well. And let's go back to the home page, and it's not showing here, is it? Yeah, right. Nope, nope, nope. Hold on. Nope, it's not. Is it showing here? No, it's not. So let me go quickly here to. This is just my email. I'm going to show you what I received. Is that the help desk has identified some issues that people are experiencing with the Canvas integration, okay? And so there is a ticket that is being currently addressed with this. This does affect students. It has. They've gotten quite a few. Any updates to the courses? This is system-wide, and they don't have an ETA at this time. The one thing I want to stress and for you is that these labs, when you start working in Science Interactive, they don't do well with a cell phone or a tablet. And I don't know if I mentioned that in the first class. It this cloud gets really finicky. Okay. So we want to make sure that we are on a computer, laptop, desktop, whichever. Um, and we are doing that. The other thing that I want to state is because I don't know who joined late. There are items here that do need to be done so you can get full credit for the week. Your in-class assignment has unlimited attempts. And you can take the time to get that done right now. Content and watching the video, and then there's a quiz. There are unlimited attempts, and then there's also the practice test has unlimited attempts, as well as the chapter 1 test has that. And it's always nice when there's a practice test, because it gives you an idea of the information that you're going to be tested on, as well as just making sure that you are keeping up with the discussions. I did want to state that we want to make sure that we are responding to one other person or answering a question if it has been posed to you. Um, just that helps facilitate the discussion, and we all learn from one another. And I will be throwing some simple questions, maybe some more doozier questions in there that you might need to do some research on. Andrea's shaking her head. Yeah, I know. And I'm sorry. But I want you to learn. I want you to be the best pharmacy technician that you can be. Um, I want, like I said, I always like to be able to walk into a pharmacy and go, hey, you know what? I think I taught that person and I'm really proud of them and they're doing a great job. Um, have I had students that I have taught that aren't the best? Yeah. And you wanna shake your head and probably walk out, right? We've all had that kind of interaction with maybe a coworker. It's like if you're on shift, I'm leaving. Um, but so this, like I said, working these items will help. These are all of except for the discussion. Your first post should be posted by tonight, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are in Central Time, your time has flipped over to 10:59 p.m. Um, and your response to somebody or a question that's posed to you, you will need to have that done by Saturday, 11:59 p.m. I gave a little bit of a breather um, last week because you guys were getting used to everything, right? But this week I'm going to be a little bit more particular. Has it been submitted on time? And then everything else is on Saturday at 11:59 p.m. But this is all helps prepare you for the following week. As I was also saying earlier, I don't necessarily have a problem with you working ahead. Um, this is the only thing that you're not going to be able to work on is if it's a proctored in-class assignment because I have to watch you work on it. Yeah, I know. And we don't like that. I trust me, I don't like it either, but it's just to make sure that everything is up and correct. And then this one doesn't have a lab, if you can tell, right? So we're just gonna be yes. So we're just gonna be working on this. And this actually, I honestly think this is a fun thing. Okay. And then we go jump back into the labs again. And this one, I'm gonna tell you, when we get to week 4, this is a lab that a lot of people tell me, oh my gosh, it's a doozy. Okay. It does have conversions and has the I call it the tic-tac-toe method, but it is actually called the allegation method. And we will be going through the math together. Okay? So you will have the math down. And you can stop and say, hey, wait a second. How did you get that? Right? I don't understand. Can you go over it again? I will find different ways to explain it to you so you got it. Okay? And then the next one would be, well, this one's actually computer-based, like I was showing before, computer-based. So those two will not require a video. This one does require a video once we get to that, um, the experimentation, the lab portion of it. There's math that you have to do, and then there's a lab you have to do. So we will do the math. You're going to do the lab by yourself and videotape yourself doing the lab. You're going to upload your math and everything for that. And then obviously all the questions have to be answered. And we'll go through that week. But these two will not require a video. You don't see no video link here, right? And then week 7, this is the second one that everyone has issues with. We will be going through that one together as well. We're going to go through all of these together, but these will be also have math related items. And a really fun exercise prior to the math. So that's always a plus. Um, I do have makeup lab days. We will still meet for that in-class assignment and just go over any questions that might have or any information. Um, this is a point of care testing. This is going to be a fun one to do as well. And then week 10, you have a shorter week of not much to be expected because of this nice little final exam. So any questions on the information, I guess, that we are covering this week? Because I do have a PowerPoint slide, whatever you want to call it. I gotta move that up so I can find it. Let me see here. Just not what I want right here. And we can definitely go through this if you want additional information. So this is chapter 3, drug and supplement development. Your learning objectives for this week is just understanding and being able to explain the difference between the classifications, listing the essential components of a prescription, and identifying any advances and what they might have as an impact on us, right? So the first question asks you, what is a drug? We know we have prescription drugs. These are the items that you'll need to know that need to be on that prescription, which is the prescriber's name, address, phone number, date written in the signature, their NPI, and their DEA if it is a controlled substance. The DEA might not be there if it's for like amoxicillin or metformin or any other medication that's not controlled. And then the patient's name, address, date of birth, drug's name, dosage, duration, and prescribing date. I've had pharmacies ask for my phone number when I would show up with a prescription. So that might be something specific to the pharmacies now, that they're asking you for your phone number so they can have that on that prescription as well. But if it's a controlled medication, I really don't know any prescriber that actually lets you walk in a prescribed medication, a prescription for controlled. Usually they send over prescribing, e-script. They will also ask for your license or state ID. It is actually a requirement now. And then this goes on to the next one, the over-the-counter drugs, homeopathic remedies, and then the classifications. So we are looking at, these are the classifications. Where do they fall into? So it's just really good to know exactly what these classifications are. And I am actually really impressed with the discussions I have seen so far. So good job again if you have started. Medications fall into one of the 5 classifications. So you also have these 2 that weren't on the last ones. So you have these. And that's 5, but then why are they like that? So you just got these 5. This next PowerPoint, I'm not sure exactly what's there. So and then what are some scientific discoveries? So one of the questions I asked was, why is it important for you as a pharmacy technician, if you are data entering the information into the system, to know if a patient is taking an over-the-counter medication, or maybe they're taking a supplement, maybe they're taking one of those homeopathic medications. Interactions do occur. So if I am prescribed warfarin, which is a blood thinner, and I am also taking aspirin, they do the same thing. Just one is more stronger than the other. And so there could be an interaction of me bleeding out. Same thing with maybe a gentleman comes to the counter and he is filling his heart medication. And for the life of me, can't think of one off the top of my head right now. But he also has a prescription for Viagra, which is for erectile dysfunction. It interacts and can create a heart attack situation. Okay. So there are some dangerous interactions, and then there's some interactions that might not be dangerous, but need to have a heads up. And so when you're doing a medication reconciliation, it is typically assigned to a technician. Sometimes the pharmacist will do it, but a lot of times the pharmacists are really busy, so they're like, hey, you're my favorite tech for the day. You're going to do it. You're going to make sure that all documentation for all prescription medications, the strength, the dosage, how often they're taking it, and if they're taking any over the counter, the same thing. Supplements, the same thing. And typically, your medication reconciliations occur with the elderly. So there's going to be a lot of like probing questions to ask. Um, what what is the medication? So they'll try to give you some silly name. I don't, I can't even tell you how many silly names I've heard. And you're going to have to probe questions. What do you take it for blood pressure, or is it a cholesterol medication? What is it? And you're going to get it out that way. And so you're going to then, like check it with the system. You might need to make a phone call to the provider and obviously do all the HIPAA, explain so forth what's going on and what you're trying to do, and they seem confused. And you just need clarification. Let's say it's propranolol. What is the strength and how often does the patient take it? Some medications you'll know that it's always a tablet or a capsule, and some other ones you're going to know that it could vary more so. So that's pretty much, I mean, the importance of medication reconciliation is a very up and coming trend in the pharmacies. They are really trying to get people to do that. And so then you're going to have these major scientific discoveries and drug therapies in medicine. Um, I'm going to have to look this one up because I'm not quite sure what the germ theory of disease is, but I'm sure it's very interesting. And then you got drug ingredients and sources. Um, Allergies is a big thing, especially with medication reconciliation. You're going to want to notate any allergies. Are they allergic to penicillin? Are they allergic to red dye? Um, are they allergic to latex? Those are items that you're going to want to make sure that you have there, because if they come in for, let's say, the flu vaccine and they decide to get it at the pharmacy instead of the doctor's office, you need to be aware that you can't wear latex gloves or use anything that's latex related. And so you got the biochemically active components, exert desired effects. So these are the active ingredients. That's what they will ultimately do. And then your inactive ingredients, which ensure the stability, preserve the drug, and provide the vehicle for the active ingredient, such as a cream, usually in your compounding. Um, and then natural sources can come from the earth, are remaking it. So the laboratory sources are remade it in a lab. So that makes a difference too for some people. They might not be able to ingest a synthetic drug um, or a biogenically engineered medication, might have difficulties as well. And we are at the 50-minute mark, and we'll take a 10-minute break and we'll come back and finish up this. And then you can work on that in-class assignment, okay? You can take 10 minutes. We'll be back at 8:01. All right, we should all be coming back. This medication always surprises me when I see where it comes from. Thyroid medication, you're going to find that it is specific to the patient, and there's a lot of pushbacks that they remain on that name that they're on, the manufacturer. It's a therapeutic medication. Typically, if they begin on one that the physician wants them to uh, stay on that one. So you will know. Typically, they'll have it like dispensed as written, which is a DAW. Um, no substitution allowed. And it would need to be approved by the physician if necessary. Um, but you'll see all of that and you'll recognize it. The next one is the prescription drug approval process. This is going to go through the entity that is responsible to ensure that they are both safe and effective. And there is a lengthy research process before they can come to market. And that is why they copyright and patent the name of the medication because it's a lot of money. So you'll see that like certain medications do not have a generic. Eliquis is just coming out with a generic, if not already. I don't remember if it's out of the market yet. But there's reasons. Because they want to get their somewhat of their investment back. Okay. So that is a lot of it as well. And then there are some medications that will never have a generic. They'll just always be brand. Strict regulations were developed to respond to the thalidomide tragedy in the 60s. Um, this was a really scary situation. I remember my mom talking about it. Uh, I'm like 50. Am I 56 years old now? I'm 56 and so I was at the late 60s, but it was a sedative that was marketed for morning sickness, but it caused birth defects. So they were very, I mean, there was a lot of pushback from that. So there was safety and the efficiency that needed to be revised, and that is why the FDA does what the FDA does. Okay. Just like you'll see, like there's like, oh, we don't, this medication is never prescribed for somebody who is pregnant or might be breastfeeding because it goes straight into the infant. The non-prescription drug approval process is slightly different, but it still does need to be regulated by the FDA. It's just not as tightly as that. But the manufacturer does require to show the drug is safe and effective to use for following label directions. Okay. Um, they're less potent and less dangerous, but they can interact. There's one particular prescription medication, not too long ago, ranitidine. It's a PPI, which is a proton um, inhibitor. It's like omeprazole or pantoprazole. Zantac, not Zantac. Oh my gosh, Pepsid AC, which is famotidine, um, to help with GERD or acid reflux. It was pulled off the market due to not being safe or effective. It was a prescription medication due to the fact that it also was linked to cancer. So you're going to see things like that, and patients are upset because well, that was the only medication that helped my whatever, it was being treated. Um, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to have to go with something else. They do need to have standardized labeling written in easy terms. One thing you're going to learn in the pharmacy is that you are going to want to use plain language with the patient because they don't have that medical background. They don't understand, medical terms or and they might be asking for clarification. They, the doctor spoke in a way that maybe they didn't completely understand, or they're confused. They're older, they don't understand, you're going to want to try to break it down a little bit for them. You need to be very careful not to go into counseling, though, because counseling is not in your scope, it is in the pharmacist. And so the ingredients, the uses of the product, age appropriate dosing, and then warnings. So yeah, what you normally would see. I'm going to use this for a backache. If I get a hive or I have asthma, I'm wheezing, or go into shock, I want to go get emergency care. And then the stomach bleeding warning is another thing that's really big. And then what are the indications that might be more at risk for this if you're over 60 or you have stomach ulcers, etc. So that is always important to note as well. National Drug Code Number, NDC. That is going to identify the medication. Specifically, the first 5 digits are going to specify your manufacturer. The next 4 will be the drug and dose. And then the last 2 is the package size. Some medications with the NDC are specific to coverage in different insurance plans, where others might not be. It's the same medication, but for some reason that NDC is not covered. So they're going to say, well, can you pull another NDC? And either you can, or maybe you have to send it to another pharmacy, or you have to borrow, as we stated in the inventory situation. This will appear on the stock bottle and the prescription label bottle. So it's like right here. And then the barcode on the stock bottle also contains the NDC number. These are usually notated on a master log, so we know exactly what we have dispensed. So let's say there's a recall and they provide us with information, we can then pull up records and say, oh, well, we dispensed 20 prescriptions of this medication. So these are the patients we need to call. And that's usually done at the cost of the pharmacy and the manufacturer, not the patient. FDA medication safety surveillance. I mean, a lot of this might be, just common sense for most people. We want to make sure that the risk of toxicity is lower than low, put it that way. Adverse drug reactions, negative consequence from taking a medication. All right, they're not always preventable or predictable, and I have yet to find a pharmacy that will allow a tech to necessarily log this. This is typically handed off to the pharmacist because it being an adverse drug reaction. There's protocol that needs to be taken. Documentation for the pharmacy, for the prescriber, and for the manufacturer. FDA will maintain a nationwide drug safety monitoring system, AERS, which is the Adverse Event Reporting System. It is a centralized database of all adverse reactions that are reported. It gathers information from MedWatch and the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, which is called VAERS, and it recalls drugs, requires additional warnings to be added, especially if there is a large pattern. Sometimes even if it's a smaller pattern, that they just want to be safer and say, hey, this could possibly happen. And it restricts distribution of any medications that are identified as high risk. And that is pretty much what we are covering this week. Any questions? I know it's a lot of information. I don't expect you to remember all of it. Okay. I do suggest what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to send this out in a Canvas message to you guys, this PowerPoint, so you have it. I think that it's helpful when you see it broken down this way. And remember, like I said, even though you get all this information, right, these weeks, because we will be going over a lot of information, there is no expectation that you're going to remember all of it. Even once you get finished with the program and you're on externship, or you just, let's say you finished externship, you graduated, and now you are working as a pharmacy technician, you're going to ask questions. The pharmacist is going to be a good resource to ask questions. Your lead technicians in the pharmacy, other coworkers who have been working for a little bit longer, um, and then you have other resources as well. You're not on your own. And that is a big thing that a lot of people are like, oh my God, am I going to be tossed on my own? No. You'll always have somebody there, and that is a good thing. So, and remember, the pharmacist will always need to sign off on what your work is. So they will always be coming back and double checking. It's not that they don't trust you or they don't think you can do the job. It's just that their license is the first license that will get hit because their name is on it. Your name will be on it too, and you will also be dinged, but it's the reporting. They're the top dog, then you. So I always say, if in doubt, ask the pharmacist or lead tech. Um, if I know somebody has been in the business longer than me, I will stop and ask them, even if they're not the lead tech. Um, but if somebody starts the same day as you, they might not be the best person to ask. I always try to go a little bit higher, but they will also be training you on all this as well. So this is not going to be something that you learn one day or one week and then you're expected to remember everything. But it's pretty much, I'm thinking, what we really should be focusing on is 3-1 through 3 um 3. Nope, 3-2. 3-1 and 3-2 of this PowerPoint. So we want to make sure we understand what the classifications are, what are the definitions for these, what are some examples of the medication, and what do they treat. So if, let's say, I use metformin, what is it typically prescribed for? It's usually diabetes, type 2. If, let's say, I throw out, I'm going to say, what medication is prescribed for dry eye? And that would not really necessarily in here, but it could be. Yeah. It's either going to be Restasis or Xiidra are the two prescription medications. What medication category treats bacteria infections? Your antibiotics, right? So you know that. So what I would do on a flashcard is take each of these classifications, these 5 classifications, and on the back of it, don't write out the full definition from the textbook. What I want you to do is read that definition, put it in your own words so you understand it. Because if you just write the definition from the textbook, you're going to look at that definition mostly, most people that I have known, and go, I don't understand that. That's like a foreign language to me. But if I were to break it down for each category exactly what medication, what is it in my own words, I'm going to understand. And then the same thing with any medication that you might find here. So you got the categories, and then what is a homeopathic remedy? So it gives you products comprised of natural substances that stimulate the body's immune system. Okay, what do you mean by that? And then you're going to say, well, I'm talking like vitamins or minerals or herbs that are not considered drugs by the FDA. They are something that, let's see, I have one right here actually on my desk. It's called rhodiola. And rhodiola is supposed to help your memory. Does it work? I'm not sure yet. So ask me in about a year. Because I just started taking it and I don't always remember to take it. So that doesn't help matters either. Over-the-counter medications, drugs that can be sold without a prescription. Now, some of your over-the-counter medications are also prescription medications. So we need to be aware of that as well. So like diclofenac, um, was a prescription medication at one time. It was required to have one, but then it fell into the area of over the counter. And now you can buy it over the counter. So the same thing with some places will also have a doctor on site, and pharmacists are now starting to evolve into where they're able to write certain prescriptions. That it's not necessarily your physician. That's why I said medication reconciliation is very important, because if you have multiple prescribers, you're going to run into an issue. Not everything is documented then. So let's say I have Zyrtec. It's an allergy medication that I can buy over the counter without a prescription. Maybe I'm taking aspirin, a low dose aspirin. That needs to be known in case the doctor decides to prescribe warfarin or Coumadin, Eliquis. There's one other one. I can't, Xarelto. It'll come to me. Prescription drugs. What is required for the prescription drug to be a valid prescription? And you got all your information here. So that's very important to know. What is a prescription medication? It's a medication that is monitored and controlled and regulated by the FDA. And it is only obtainable by a prescription. So you have to go to a pharmacy, hand over a paper prescription or have it e-scribed, and you're handed at the end of the day, or whenever, you're given your medication, and you have questions or any counseling that needs to be done, that goes to the pharmacist, and that's good. So that, just like I said, we're going to discuss and differentiate the different classifications. That is the main discussion question this week. The rest of this is just good to know information, but the information here will make sense once you start tying it in with the other information. So that's why I really do think this PowerPoint for chapter 3 is actually a really good one. Any questions or concerns on differentiating between the different classifications or the type of drugs? All right, I don't see anybody. The next question I will have for you is, let me find out where it's at. Where is anything at? I don't know. Get that out of there. Get that. Hold on. We all know that we need Science Interactive, which is the bookwork, but we also need the video upload, and it is distinguished as 2 separate submissions in your modules. The other items are required, just so that you have the practice, and then your discussion is also, the first one is due tonight, and then the rest of everything else is due by the end of the week. As I mentioned in the beginning, you should not be using a tablet or a cell phone for the Science Interactive Labs. They don't work well with that. And there is a known issue right now that the help desk is actually working on. For everything else, it might be having an issue with that cell phone or tablet. they do recommend you using a computer as well. I was lenient the first week, but I will be not so lenient on submissions this coming week. So if you'll have time to, get me the video upload, don't, let's say you do the book work, but let's say you don't have the video upload to me until like maybe the next, like a minute or, whatever. That is different. What I'm talking about is that these items do need to be done. Okay. So here again, like I showed before, you have an in-class assignment. And last time I checked, oh, 2 people have done it now. Okay. So what you're going to do is there's content. It's just going to pop up here with the information. It's going to be 3 pages in length. It's going to give you the learning objectives and the text. You can make this bigger if you need to. Okay. I'm sure if I probably did that, yeah, it's a little bit bigger. And it's going to go over the information that you went through as well. And then there's a video as well. If you wanted to do the video, just the video, you have that. And then there is a quiz. So when you click the video, I think the video is just here. It's just going to tell you, it's 2 minutes and 18 seconds. What is a drug? And it's going to provide that information to you. So unlimited. If you get a low score and if you're anything like me, I don't like low scores for myself. I love, okay, I know. All right. I'm gonna continually laugh. Retake it, please. That it's a learning experience for you. You're learning. And I'd rather have you retake it as many times as you need to make sure you understand the information, right? Because it's gonna help get it in your head. And same thing with the practice test and the test itself. You have attempts to try, get the score higher. I am very proud of you guys though. This past week you all rocked it out, and I was very, very happy. So I'm just gonna come here. I want to see something here. I'm just go to main page because this won't show. Yeah, that's how I get there. So there's only one in particular that has not, and I'll be reaching out to her this week, to see what's going on. But you guys have all at least gotten the first 2 labs done, which made me very happy. Some have been a little bit more proactive and gotten a few, this week's, as well as another one student that's just like zooming along on me. So, but that's fine. As long as you understand the lab itself, if you want to go ahead and work it, that's fine. But I will reiterate, when we get to the math labs, which is measurement systems and repackaging, you're not comfortable with the math, I would pause and stop. We will go and do the math together. I will teach you how to understand the math and be able to work the math in a much more simpler way so that you can be successful, because I have heard from some that conversions trip them up. They're like, what, I don't understand. Or they understand the conversions and don't have a problem. It's the allegation method, which typically will trip everybody up, and it's not a fun lab if you're not comfortable with math. I'm just going to show you something really quick here. This is what they show you in the thing. And if you don't really completely understand exactly what it's asking you to do, you're going to be confused. I have a document that is much more simple. Okay. So don't be shaking your head at me. I will break it down. You will understand it. Okay. By the time you finish this lab, you're going to go, that looks so much more difficult, what you showed me, versus what we are going to be doing with it. Okay. So don't worry too much about that. A lot of people are like, oh, that one is gonna tank my grade, and that's not the case. The other one I'm gonna say right here is repackaging, and that is a really fun one because it has a fun lab, but then it has a lab that you're gonna be working with syringes that's in your lab kit. Okay, so and learning how to work with an oral adapter. And these are the things that I said you really want to make sure that we are following along with the directions, and I will show you how to do it um as well, because that adapter, if it gets pushed in too far, it's not going to work too well. And those who have certified nursing assistant or any kind of like medical assistant experience, you know from firsthand, there is a certain way to do it. So you might be able to go zoom, zoom, zoom on me on that one, but others might not. And then there's blister packaging, which is a really fun um, experiment. And there's actually a lot of pharmacies now that are tailoring their services to the long-term care facilities and creating the blister packaging um, for the patient's medications, making it easier on the healthcare professional that is in those facilities and going, you need to take this, this, and that, instead of going trying to guess what they have to take. It's all in one. Okay. So, if is there any questions? Any questions? I'm gonna give you some time to work on the uh in class assignment. Um, for others, if you are done with that, because I do see that there was like two students that were done. If you wanted to work on the practice test, or you wanted to work on maybe if you haven't started the discussion, working on the discussion forum, and you want to just hang in here. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. I will be willing to answer any questions. Or if you wanted to work on your lab, you can do that as well. The only thing that I always state with the labs is that I will not help you in this section here. This evaluation portion, the very last part of it, I do expect you to do that as well as the questions within the experiment. I will help you with exploration, not a problem. Okay. But these other items, if there's a question or it's, obviously the evaluation, I need to be able to validate that you understand the lab. Okay. So, you got about 20 to 30 minutes, to work on something. Um, and then you can come off mute and ask me a question if you have, or anything else. So, what I'm gonna do. Right there. What was that called? All right, so I just sent out the PowerPoint and the citation machine uh link so that you have those two items. And like I said, at some point this week I will be well, some point tomorrow morning, sorry. Not this week because I don't need my boss messaging me again. Um Getting up this recording of this class. And just remember that these live classes are 40% of your grade each week. It's if there is an issue of you making it, I can work with necessarily maybe if let's say you're 5 or 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late. But if you're gonna miss it completely, just give me a heads up so that I'm not waiting on you on beginning the class. Um, I try to be respectful of people's time because I do realize it's maybe not late for you guys, but it's like I'm in Eastern Standard Time, so it's literally 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the evening. So, and remember, if you do work ahead and you do finish all the labs prior to the end of this course, you're just going to store that lab kit up in an area that nobody can get to. And you're going to save it for the next lab course because there's a total of I believe 17 labs that you'll be doing. We just only have a certain amount this time around. We have we have 7 labs um for this class, and then probably the rest of the labs for the next one. Depending if it's 17, I'm not quite sure. I know from personal experience the other ones were. Oh, and the other thing I want to apologize for anyone who got a message stating that they were missing something. Um, I for some reason not quite sure. I'll have to look into it further to see where the disconnect in the grade book versus sending out that message went. I did not mean to freak anyone out. And the other thing, just one last reminder before we have until like 8:50 here or 7:50 if you're in Central. Um because you're required to be in class for at least 100 minutes. If you have no questions at 7:50 or 8:50, you can go. Remember that I am you can contact me either through email. You can contact me through Canvas. A lot of you are using that option, which I think is wonderful. I do get notified through email as well through the Canvas situation. I have it set up that way. And I will try to respond as soon as I see the message. Just know that if it is after a certain time, and this is something I'm trying to teach my adult children, there's a good possibility that I might just be away from my computer or I might be sleeping or something. Um, I will like respond as soon as I realize, I think it was Martha um got a delayed response for me because I was dozing off. And I'm like, well, she's gonna wait till morning when I'm a little bit more able to reply in a intelligent manner. Um or you can also, worst case scenario or best case scenario, depending on how you feel about it, you can always send me a quick text message on my cell phone number or give me a call. All I just ask is if you do the text message that you let me know who you are. Um, Not that this class is a big class, but it's just nice to have a heads up. Okay. And like I said, you guys are doing an awesome work. I love this. I appreciate it. You guys are making my life easy right now. Um, but I'm always here to answer questions. If you need extra help on something and you want to set up a time to meet and talk, we can do that as well. My open office hours are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, um, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. I know that might not work for all of you or any of you. So if that's the case, just let me know and we can finagle a time that works better. I'm always willing to meet also on a Saturday, if that works. I just prefer to keep my Sundays for my family, um, as to respect the fact that you have a family as well. And like I said, the videos are going to be posted each week the day after the class, just due to the fact that it takes a while for it to convert over to that video. And if let's say you're working on your labs come Friday night or Saturday and you're just not, I don't remember what she said. Go back and look at the video because you'll have that reminder. And you can always message as well, like I said. Okay, we got about 5 more minutes, and then you're released from class if you want to go at 8:50 or 7:50, depending on what your time zone is. I think majority of you are in Central, so I think only a couple are actually in Eastern with me. All right. So if you finished, I'm going to do it this way. If you have finished the in-class assignment or what you were working on, you are free to go and enjoy the rest of your evening. If you have something you're still working on and you want to hang back, you are more than welcome to. If you want to like leave and do it on your own because you have no questions, that will be fine as well. Next week it'll probably be the complete time though, just so you're aware. All right. All right, you're free to go, Anna, if you like. You can have a good night. Okay.